Hello traders, today we got some interesting FTMO challenges and verifications for you. So once again, hello traders, I am Simon from FTMO, and if you are new here, what we are doing is that we are providing initial balance to experienced traders. And as you already know, in this video we are gonna look at 3 separate FTMO challenges and 3 separate verifications. So without further ado, let's do this. This is the first account that we are gonna look at for $100,000 on MT4 platform. The growth here is pretty good. The chart looks pretty great because there are no huge spikes and no huge dips, maybe with an exception of this part right here, but nothing dramatic really. And after trade number 45, this FTMO challenge was successfully finished. To finish this evaluation period, this trader took just 13 trading days. Max daily loss is not an issue here, and neither is max loss, and the profit target is pretty standard. Now scrolling down here to the statistics, as I already mentioned, this took just 45 trades using 220 lots or something like that. Win rate is 80% and the average risk reward ratio is close to 1 but under 1, which is not really that great, but it's fine. And you know, it's good to have average risk reward ratio above 1 at the very least. But in conjunction with a win rate that is quite high, 80% in this case, it works. In the daily summary, the volume is split very nicely across all days, which is something that we love to see. There are really some nice gains, some losses in the middle of the trading period, but otherwise mostly just gains. And when we look at the trading journal, for the most part, all the positions are the same volume, which is once more very consistent. Unfortunately, not every time are there stop losses set up for some reason, and the same goes for take profits. So I am not really sure what is the reasoning behind setting up stop losses sometimes and sometimes not, even if the position is very similar, but it is what it is. And since there are basically no swaps at all being paid, at least on this page of the trading journal, I can assume that this is a day trader. Selling is definitely more profitable than buying, but both are still profitable. This makes 75% of the profits, this is just 25. And the single most profitable instrument is Australian dollar and US dollar. And clearly this is not a specialist because there are a bunch of instruments being traded, but it's just Forex. There is gold actually, but it's not really significant. And what I especially like here is that all the profits are made basically on just the same volume of 5 lots per position. So this has been great trading with really consistent results. So now let's look at another account. Once more, this one is for $100,000 on MT4, and the growth here is even more consistent, but also more boring, which doesn't have to be really a bad thing. The growth here is so consistent that there isn't really anything to talk about. So let's scroll to the trading objectives, where we can see that this trader took just 10 trading days to finish the trading period. The max deal loss is not an issue here, neither is max loss, and profit target is once more pretty standard. So scrolling further down, we can see that this trader executed 61 trades using volume of 86 lots or almost 87 lots. Win rate is astounding 87%. And the average risk reward ratio is 2.4, which is a significant improvement. And honestly, the entirety of the statistics is really great. Win rate of 87% is really high. The average risk reward ratio of 2.4 is also super awesome. The entire trading period, there are basically just profits. There is one loss at the end of the trading period, but the volume is not really significant. When we look at the positions themselves in the trading journal, no stop losses and take profits are set up, but still it works, so there's no problem with that. And then there is, for the most part, gold. Interestingly enough, this is the first time that we see treasuries being traded in this series. Then there is GJ, and that's basically it. Buying and selling is pretty equal, so that's really pleasing. And the single most profitable instrument is definitely gold. So for the most part, this is a specialist on trading gold. These profits are not really that significant. So if this trader traded just gold and not these 3, this FTMO challenge would be still passed. This is the third challenge that we are gonna look at for $100,000 again on MT4 again, but this time this is more bumpy and the start of the trading period was not as great. Now, even though this is not the straight line that we have seen with the previous account, this is still a very nice consistent growth. Even though this is more bumpy, it still works. This was finished in 10 trading days. Max daily loss is not an issue, wasn't even at 50% of the entire limit. Max loss is not an issue as well. And regarding the profit target, well, there is $140 more than was required, so that's nice. There were 67 trades executed using huge volume of 700 lots. Win rate is basically a coin flip probability, and the average escort ratio is quite nice, it's 2.3. Now personally, I wouldn't say that this is as consistent as was the case with the previous accounts, because the majority of the volume is stacked in these 3 days, perhaps even these 2 days. But still, I wouldn't say that this is a huge problem, because there are still some major profits stacked at the beginning of the trading period, but most of the profits are stacked right here. In the trading journal, there is basically just Forex, no commodities, no indices, etc. And interestingly enough, once more, sometimes stop losses are set up, sometimes not really. Other than that, I would say that volume per position is split very nicely across all positions, so at least there is that. And also there are no swaps being paid, so this is clearly a day trader. Buying is more profitable than selling, but buying more so. And the single most profitable instrument in this case is Euro and USD, then followed by British Pound and USD. So this is not a specialist, but at the same time, this trader is not trading like 20 different instruments. So still there is focus on just a few of them, like 5 or 6, so that's alright. But as always, this is up to the trader to decide how many different instruments does she or he wanna trade. Now moving on to the verifications, this is the first one for 10,000 euros on MT4 platform, and this is way more wild. The start of the trading period wasn't all that great, but from trade number 14 it went up, and from that point on there was no net loss, and that's always great because you can always aim for that free repeat of the challenge. But still there were these 2 dips which are not really that nice, but even so, this trader after trade number 71 just went straight up and finished at trade number 101. In this case it took 13 trading days to finish this trading period. Max daily loss was at minus 160 euros, which is not even close, and the same goes for max loss, and profit target was barely there. 101 trades were executed using 13.5 lots, which is not a huge volume, but on this smaller account it's fine. And win rate is 43%, with average risk-reward ratio of 2. So these two still work together, but there is maybe a room to increase the volume, but once more, it's up to the trader. The number of trades, the volume, and the profits are split quite nicely across all days, so there is nothing out of ordinary here. And actually, there is a whole lot of indices, so that's US 30, US 100, and DAX. So this kind of explains the low volume, because when you're trading indices, you don't need to open many lots to really make an impact. Unfortunately, there is no consistency in the stop losses department, but what can you do? And this is clearly a day trader. Buying clearly dominates the selling, but both are still profitable, and the single most profitable instrument in this case is US 30 index. As I already mentioned, there is a focus on those indices, so that's these 3 right here. There was perhaps some minor experiment with Bitcoin, didn't go all too well, but nothing terrible. And also there is a little bit of gold. So this has been quite nice trading. Of course, this trader will be now on his or her FTMO account, so we will be looking forward to that. The second verification is for $100,000 on swing account type, and the platform in this case is CTrader. There is this ugly dip right here, but other than that there is nothing out of ordinary, and there is some really nice and steady growth. And right at the trade number 164, this was successfully finished. This took just 10 trading days. Max daily loss is not an issue here, but it was getting closer than usual, and max loss is not an issue here as well. Profit target is just fine. There were 164 trades executed using 106 lots. Win rate is over 50, so that's almost 60%, and the average risk-reward ratio is 1.57. These numbers by themselves are not extraordinary, but they work together, so why not? And in the daily summary, basically entirety of the volume, positions, and even the profits are stacked at the beginning. So there is that. We would most certainly prefer if the volume was split more nicely across all days, but it isn't like the entirety of the profits were made in just one day, so at least there is that. If we ignore these positions right here, because these are not significant, we have to look down here, and all that is being traded is Bitcoin. So this can be quite a wild ride. For some reason, take profits and stop losses are stacked just right here. Other than that, not really. Buying in this case is more profitable than selling, and this is clearly a specialist on trading Bitcoin. I am not really sure what to say about trading Bitcoin because it can be really volatile, but somehow this trader manages the risks, so why not? This is the last account that we are gonna look at. It's for $100,000 on CTrader, and the chart looks very simplistic. There was just this rise and fall right here, and from this point on it was just all the way up here straight to successful finish. Other than that, there are no major dips, spikes or bumps. This took 10 trading days as well. Max D loss is not an issue and max loss is not an issue at all. Profit target is quite alright, made even $35 more than was required. On this account, just 37 positions were executed using 42 lots. Win rate is 67% and the average risk reward ratio is 1.7. This is very similar with the previous account because these are not by themselves extraordinary numbers, but they still work together. And also, this is actually a bit better. Daily summary is also more consistent. Profits and losses and volume is split more nicely across all days, so that's even better. And in the trading journal, we can see a bunch of forex being traded with very similar volume per position. And in this case, actually, stop losses are used majority of the time, so that's quite pleasing. Selling and buying are pretty equal actually, both are profitable without an issue, and the single most profitable instrument right here is British Pound and US dollar. Now it's important to mention that this is a single instrument that is an outlier, but other than that, these are pretty similar in regards to profits, at the very least the 5 of these right here. Also, there are 2 instruments that perhaps this trader could consider avoiding, and that's this one right here and this one right here, because they ended up getting just losses. But overall, I think that this is even better result than with the previous account, although this is not a specialist, but yeah. And with that, this is the end of the video. So as always, traders, you can leave any feedback down in the comment section, subscribe to our FTMO YouTube channel and follow FTMO on all social media. And as always, trade safe.